Just watched both episodes, and boy, let me tell you, like I said at the beginning, I tried to keep my expectations low, and I'm glad I did, but I really didn't have to, because Disney actually achieved something great here, and I hope other Star Wars fans feel the same way. They did a phenomenal job, in my opinion. They tied everything together, so they kicked it off with a flashback to the entire prequel saga. I love the prequels. So seeing that flashback for me was so rewarding. It took me right back to that feeling that I had every time I watched the prequels. I feel such a nostalgic feeling, and then also just it's so epic because you know how the story is going to unfold. You know what the future holds, and the prequels flesh out the period of time as far as what happened with Anakin Skywalker. And man, it was so nice to see them tie that in. So kicking it off that way was a great idea. I think Deborah Chow is the director. She did some of the Mandalorian series as well. So she is great. Hats off to her. Kudos to her. Great job there. And then things kick off at the Jedi Temple right as Order 66 kicks off. And everyone pretty much knows what Order 66 means to Jedi. That's the kill order that Palpatine gave to the clones to wipe out all Jedi. And to see them start this show from inside the temple, seeing the younglings training with I think it was a Padawan, could have been a master, who knows. But that entire scene really hit me. I mean, it really, just seeing the younglings training in the temple and just seeing that vision alone is very powerful for me because I am very deep into the Jedi lore, the Star Wars lore. So I know how priceless and how rare Jedi are. So seeing the younglings train is just so good to see. I mean, it's really good to see. But then things take a turn for the worse, and Order 66 is initiated, and clones come through the door. And the master, I got to look at the end credits to see if they tell us that person's name, but she was defending those kids with her life, like any Jedi would do. She did a valiant job as long as she could to keep those kids alive and to get them to safety. It really hit me. And, I think there are multiple reasons why. One is because of the recent issue that the country's been kind of wrestling with and recovering from, the children that got killed in Texas. That whole concept, and it's interesting how, I wonder if people are going to feel a way about that. I'll have to take a look and read comments online to see how people feel about it. I didn't feel a way about it because I can separate the two, fiction from fact. But it's just, the timing was just right, was perfectly in line with that. We got to protect our children. And she did that. That master did that. She got them into a position where they can flee. And man, that really hit me. It really made me get emotional. Star Wars, it's been dear to my heart for a very long time. And I get emotional about it. If something touches me in a certain way, as far as Star Wars is concerned, I have an emotional reaction, and I'm proud of that. I enjoy that reaction, that emotional feeling. That's what being human's about. So seeing the younglings like that really, really, really affected me. It made me have an emotional response to seeing that. Seeing them get away was nice, though. So that tells me right there, there's so many more stories that can be told, because not all Jedi were killed. Some escaped, and those children were a prime example. They were able to get away. And, it makes you wonder, was Grogu a part of one of those groups of children that got away? That's another story that can be told, and maybe that'll be told in the Mandalorian show. Flashback to the Order 66 with Baby Yoda, with Grogu. He was one of those younglings training in the temple. So he would have been there, and he would have been a part of the groups that at least tried to get away. So I hope we hear more about his story there. Great job on that scene, and that set up the entire show for me. So we got 2 episodes. Episode 1 laid the groundwork, told us why we're here, what's happened before, where we're going. So it gave us a really nice trajectory as far as where the series is going to take us. Introduced the Inquisitors, probably get more backstory on them, particularly the Reva character. There's a lot there to be told. She had some major attitudes. I'm very interested to see more about that character, to see where she ends up. We see Obi-Wan, he had obviously PTSD from his entire situation with Anakin. even the Clone Wars, like Obi-Wan's been through a lot in his life, a whole lot. And he's got serious PTSD. So seeing him dreaming about Anakin, what happened, what could have been, what should have been, and then Anakin burning, that's gotta be like, he has that nightmare every night, I would assume. That's just something you can't run away from. That's a scar. He was traumatized by all of that. And we got to see that in this show, which is just great. We've always kind of wondered about that. How is he dealing with it during that time on Tatooine? That showed us exactly how he's been dealing with it on Tatooine. So that was phenomenal. We see that unfold. And then we get introduced to the Organas from the prequels. You know, it's nice to see that actor back. He looks great after all this time. What stole the show for me, and it'll probably steal the entire series, is the kid who plays Leia. She was amazing. She did such a great job. She was like a miniature-sized Leia compared to the Leia that we know from the OG series. It was great. She did a great job. I loved every scene that she was in. Great actress. She's really capturing the true nature of Leia. She really is. She's like a small Leia as a child, literally. It's great. I love it. She's spunky just like Leia was and everything, so I love that. I hope we get to see Luke as well, to see how if he has the same traits that Luke has later on as a kid. That should be interesting too. Their little journey unfolds, their little adventure. Obi-Wan decides to leave his post, to leave from watching Luke and go off planet, which is huge because Obi-Wan was specifically tasked with staying behind and overwatching Luke's development to make sure that he got a full chance at surviving. So he stepped away from that post to go help Leia, and rightfully so. Like Organa mentioned, Leia is just as important as Luke is, and that's the 100% truth. They're both equally important. So yeah, I totally understood Obi-Wan leaving his post to go help Leia. And then that sets up the whole thing as far as like Leia in the OG series, the whole message, help us, Obi-Wan Kenobi. They've never really told you why she knew who Obi-Wan was. This tells us. So Obi-Wan was interacting with her as a child, and she remembers that obviously. So when she's older, she knows who to call. She knows who Obi-Wan Kenobi is and what he is. So that was pretty cool to see that unfold. It was nice to see Obi-Wan finally using his force powers again. He was a little rusty. Even in his fight scenes, he got beat up pretty bad, but he held his own. But his force powers were rusty as well because, again, it's kind of like for a Jedi to use the force, it's like throwing a rock into a calm lake. You know, you throw that rock in there, it's going to cause ripples that just spread across the entire surface of the lake. Same thing with the force. So by him using his force powers in that moment, just threw up a beacon in the force, which is, I'll get to that in a second. Someone detects that. So that's why he didn't use it. So he was forced to use it to save Leia. So that was pretty cool to see. The situation with the Inquisitors, though. I totally didn't expect Reva to kill the head Inquisitor. That threw me for a loop there. Is he truly dead, though? I guess we'll find out. If he is dead, that's kind of shocking that they'd kill off the lead Inquisitor like that from Reva. And she's the lowest in the totem pole, so that's kind of odd that they made that choice. But who knows? Maybe he's not dead. We'll find out later on with the upcoming episodes. But man, it was so cool to see Obi-Wan. When she mentioned Vader, and you can see Obi-Wan's face, his heart dropped. Like he literally, the air left his lungs. Like he slumped down. Like he was in total shock. He could not believe it. And then she called him by his name. Anakin survived. Could you imagine Obi-Wan's mind at that point? He probably had just a swirl of madness going on. Like, how could it be? How could he survive? And then she said, he's been looking for you for a long time. That's a total mind-blown moment right there for Obi-Wan. And he shows it in his face on the ship when they're leaving. And Leia's like, what's wrong with you? Are you okay? Like, no, Leia, he is not okay at all. And then at the end of the episode, as Obi-Wan's contemplating what happened and the fact that Anakin's alive, Anakin/Vader is alive, we get a flash cut scene to someone floating in a Bacta tank who's scarred, burned, breathing heavy, and we all know who that is. We got to see Darth Vader outside of his suit, which is rare sight. I think we saw that a couple of times in the OG trilogy, once or twice. You get to see his head when he's in his meditation chamber without the helmet. But this time we got a full upper torso look at his body burned up and the look in his eyes. He obviously sensed Obi-Wan and opened his eyes because he felt that ping in the Force. And the look in his eyes was just pure like murder. Like he obviously wants to destroy every aspect of Obi-Wan in existence. And just seeing that in his face, and it's so cool to see Hayden come back to do this, because he really didn't get a good opportunity to flesh the character out at all in the prequels. So it's going to be really nice to see him come in and kind of show us where he would have taken Vader as far as like his portrayal of the character. So I'm very excited to see that. But just he didn't say a word in that scene, and his face said it all. His eyes said it all. His mouth was covered, so he couldn't speak a word, but his eyes, that gaze, he had like 1,000-yard stare. That I'm stoked to see where we go from here. Obviously, Vader is going to get involved. At the beginning of the video, I mentioned, are we going to see Hayden come in as Anakin flashback, or will we see him as a real-time Vader? That answers the question right there. Real-time Vader. Hayden will be real-time Vader in this show, which is just going to blow my mind. So I'm going to geek out majorly on that. I guarantee you, I'm going to go ahead and tell you now, I'm going to geek out on that moment. But I can't wait to see it. Overall, I thought it was a fantastic show. Both episodes were great. I was a little worried because of Disney's track record. I'm not worried anymore. They did a phenomenal job. The direction, the writing, the cinematography, the CGI, everything was great. The acting, great job across the board. I'm thoroughly satisfied after watching both of those episodes. Be sure to tune in next week when I do another reaction. Subscribe to the channel, hit the like button, leave comments. If there's anything you'd like me to do a reaction to, feel free to drop a note and I will definitely take a look. I'll give you a shout out in the comments once I do post that reaction that you've recommended. But I look forward to you guys joining me next time. So until then, may the Force be with you, and peace and love to everybody across the globe. See you guys next week.